Hello, you're watching Bookzone TV. I'm Leon Hawthorne. My guest is Professor Steve Jones, a geneticist. His book deals with that touchy subject of religion and science.
My name is Steve Jones. This is my book, The Serpent's Promise, the Bible Retold as Science. This is an attempt to rewrite the Bible as if it were a scientific textbook, which in fact in many ways it was. It was an attempt thousands of years ago to understand the world around us and to give an explanation of the physics, chemistry and biology that we see every day. And so the questions it asks were very sensible ones. Some of the answers were perhaps a little less so, but we're still asking the same questions and the answers are better.
Are you trying to give a scientific explanation to what many people consider to be miracles in the Bible?
No, I don't really go into the minutiae of the Bible, the miracles, let's say, or the plagues of Egypt, although plenty of people have tried to give a scientific explanation of those, some of which may even be true, largely because we don't have any evidence as to what was going on with the death of the firstborn, for example. What I've tried to do is to stand a bit further back and to ask about the bigger questions in the Bible. How did the universe originate? What's the nature of our inborn fate? What does sex mean? Where do diseases come from? All of which are big questions asked in the Bible, some of which the answers it almost gets right, many more it doesn't. But I'm trying to put that into the context of this year, modern science.
Isn't it the case, though, that as a scientist, your job essentially is to tell people who believe things like the world is 6,000 years old or that woman was made from a rib, that they are basically talking nonsense?
Well, they are basically talking nonsense, but what I find is however much you tell them, they refuse to listen to you. So I think a scientist's job isn't to insist that he or she is right and their opponents are wrong. The scientist's job is to find out what's going on, and sometimes, quite often, the scientists themselves will turn out to be wrong and will have to change their minds, often in a rather embittered way. But that's the essential difference between a scientific explanation and a faith-based, religious explanation, because a religious explanation doesn't need evidence. So it doesn't matter what the evidence is, it won't change. A science-based explanation is not an explanation without evidence, and if the evidence changes, the explanation changes too.
Do you believe that religion and science are antithetical?
In all frankness, I do think that religion and science are in many ways antithetical. I know there's endless argument about this, particularly by the many scientists who are religious. But the problem is that religion is something that depends on faith. And once a scientist starts depending on faith, he or she is finished as a scientist. You cannot believe that something is true in science without evidence. And you cannot study mystery which is of its very nature mysterious, and that's what religion is all about. It's filled with mysteries of its own making, designed to be insoluble. The nature of the Trinity, the indivisibility of the three parts of God, Father and Son. Are they the same thing or are they different? There's no answer to that question. You can debate it endlessly. Humankind spent 1,000 wasted years doing that. Science asks smaller, simpler questions, and most of all questions that can be answered. So I think it's actually antithetical to religion. Well, my book isn't at all like Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion. It didn't set out to do that. His is a polemical work against religion. Now, as it happens, I myself am not religious, and on balance I think religion is probably a bad thing rather than a good thing. But that doesn't come into this book. This is a book of popular science writing.
So who is this book for? Is it for the confirmed atheist, or is it for a religious person looking for more answers?
I'd like to believe, and I'm probably wrong, that those who want to read this book will do so irrespective of what their own religious beliefs are. Because this is a book really that goes in parallel with the Bible rather than against it or for it. It simply unfolds the questions that were asked thousands of years ago in the context of the 21st century. And I hope that that attempt, if it's successful, of course I'm the last person to be able to say whether it is, I hope that that attempt will be of interest both to the confirmed non-believer, such as myself, and indeed to the confirmed believer.